In 1920, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, guaranteeing all women the right to vote, became law and ushered in one of the most fascinating decades in American history. For some, the 1920s roared. Women donned short skirts and long pearls. Speakeasies and jazz burst on the scene, and a seemingly unlimited supply of wealth poured in from the Industrial Revolution. But for many, there was a different reality. Low wages, child labor, poor working conditions, and a state of perpetual poverty left many Americans with little hope and a poor quality of life. Through the leadership of various individuals, most of whom were women, the arts and crafts movement had already begun to bridge the gap between the haves and have-nots. Americans with the means were eager and willing to pay for handmade crafts, and those with the talent to create such articles were ready to supply this demand. The task now at hand was to teach future generations the skills, enabling them to maintain interest in handmade products. On the East Coast, schools in New York, New England, Maryland, and North Carolina responded to this need by incorporating handcraft instruction into their curricula. By the 1920s, many craft schools were well underway, and many more would soon emerge. One of the earliest examples was Berea College in eastern Kentucky. The founder of Berea College was Reverend John G. Fee, but it was under the leadership of William Goodell Frost that the arts and craft movement at Berea became firmly established.
He looked at the communities that provided students to the college and recognized that there was a very strong tradition of crafts within those communities. As you might expect at the time, crafts in the form of blacksmithing and weaving, basket making, which gave the community sustenance, not only providing objects for the home, but also objects to barter.
Frost recognized that these objects were of extraordinary quality. He knew they had income potential, not only for the individuals who made them, but also for the institution.
He began industry-type activity in the area of weaving. That later evolved into cabinetry, which became woodcraft, broom making, brick and tile making, blacksmithing, and then much later a bakery and a candy shop.
As the program at Berea flourished, the school began taking its handmade products on the road to the major metropolitan areas. Crafts and fabrics made at Berea began appearing across the East and were used by people of all ages, some younger than others. While the American crafts movement was building a firmer foundation, much of America fell in love with everything modern. America also began its long and liberating affair with the automobile. In 1908, Henry Ford introduced the Model T, the first truly affordable automobile. The massive production of Ford's Model T demonstrated the enormous economic benefits of assembly line production, a concept completely foreign to those who were producing handmade crafts. In the same year Henry Ford introduced the Model T, Olive Dame Campbell arrived in the southern highlands of North Carolina with her husband, John C. Campbell. Both were missionaries, dedicated to helping the poverty-stricken mountain people. Mrs. Campbell spent years studying the native craft traditions and came to realize how critical it was to maintain these customs. Responding to this realization, Campbell established the Campbell Folk School in Brasstown, North Carolina. Emphasizing the importance of individual effort, the school adopted the motto, "I sing behind the plow." Another fascinating woman with a calling to the mountains of North Carolina was Lucy Morgan. After completing her education, which included studies at Berea College, Morgan settled in the small village of Penland. Morgan persuaded a number of local women, all of whom knew how to weave, to meet with her and discuss the possibility of pooling their weaving skills and efforts. These women had learned weaving from their ancestors, and up until this point, had only crafted items for their families. Miss Lucy, as she came to be known, earned the trust she deserved, and the Penland Weavers was established.
In 1923, she began the Penland Weavers with a couple of things in mind. She wanted to provide women in the area with a way to supplement their income. And she was also interested in reviving what at the time was the almost lost art of hand weaving.
The Penland School is still recognized for its expert instruction in a variety of craft media. The guiding philosophies of the school have changed little and remain based on the principles originally established by Miss Lucy.
The Penland program today, in all kinds of ways, continues the work that Lucy Morgan started way back in 1929. The program ranges from traditional crafts to very, very contemporary, from classes in sculpture to classes in purely functional work. And the important thing is that people come here to take these classes and they have these deeply transformative experiences. It's a beautiful place, it's a retreat atmosphere. And when people come here, they really learn something about the importance of making things with their hands.
As the revival of handmade American crafts slowly gathered momentum, the rest of the world raced ahead with accomplishments made possible by emerging technologies. In 1927, Charles Lindbergh made the first non-stop solo flight from New York to Paris in the spirit of St. Louis. Lindbergh's flight was a technological wonder, and the world's reaction unprecedented. Who knew what 2 years would bring? The year 1929 is forever emblazoned in American memory. The roaring 20s were silenced by the stock market crash. People from all walks of life suffered as the pursuit of the American dream gave way to economic survival. In the American Southeast, leaders of the craft movement, including Lucy Morgan, Frances Goodrich, and Olive Dame Campbell, responded to the economic crisis by organizing. They knew that the survival of the craftsmen was at stake, and the time had come to combine resources.
The women that were running the industrial schools, the settlement schools, and the craft schools and the retail outlets began to meet on a regular basis. And they were attempting to figure out exactly a way to further their collective goals without giving up their identity.
They were very focused, they were very community-minded, they were socially minded. They were very, very committed to supporting and perpetuating the crafts in the region.
In 1928, Lucy Morgan invited craft leaders to Penland. They drew up plans for an umbrella organization that would further their collective goals. In early 1930, the Southern Highland Craft Guild was formally incorporated.
Upon its incorporation, or shortly thereafter, Frances Goodrich gave Allensdale Cottage Industries to the Southern Highland Craft Guild. And it was with that gift that the financial well-being of the organization was secured.
Many craftspeople in the Southern Appalachians, then and now, saw the Southern Highland Craft Guild as their marketing and education ticket. In the early days, the Guild not only sold products at the Allensdale shop, but also conducted successful sales along the East Coast.